And today,
Okay, I don't know what happened.
let me start over.
Yep, start over.
This is Kathy L. Murphy, and I'm the Pulpwood Queen. I'm reporting live from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law. And I just want to welcome, we have two couples here today, two writing couples. And I'm not sure exactly how you want to, each couple talk separately or all together.
I can take it. We've been coordinating.
All right.
We're on it. We're on it, baby.
Denise Kiernan, I'm going to put you on speaker view and I'm going to turn it over to you and you're going to introduce all the other couple members, and here we go.
Thank you, love. Hi, everyone. My name is Denise Kiernan. I am so happy to be here. I am a New York Times bestselling author. I focus primarily on narrative nonfiction. Some of my books include The Girls of Atomic City, which is about women who worked on the Manhattan Project, developing the first atomic bomb without their knowledge. One of my other recent books was The Last Castle, about Biltmore House in Asheville, North Carolina. And my most recent book is called We Gather Together, which is about a history of gratitude and kind of looking at giving thanks and Thanksgiving. They're two different things and get the same. Here in the United States and elsewhere on the planet. I am joined next to me. I have my tiara, my Disney tiara, because I'm a Disney freak. I'm joined by Joseph Dagnese, who didn't have a tiara, but did have an R2-D2 hat. So I'm going to let him introduce himself before I throw to our fabulous author pairing couple, Leslie Lehr and John Truby. Joe.
Hi, I'm Joe Dagnese. I'm a writer of nonfiction, fiction, ghostwriter, and all-around geek, obviously, of things. So I'll turn it over.
What is the book you want to focus on today?
Oh, so the book I'm talking about today, if we get to that, is a mystery that I wrote called Murder on Book Row.
Ooh, okay. And so we are not just sitting next to each other and co-writers.
I also have boobs over my
Boobs over his shoulder, which will throw to Leslie. No, we are not just sitting next to each other as fellow writers. We are also married for nearly 20 years. We're going to talk a lot about lessons we've learned living together with another writer, interacting with other writers, what you can glean from other writers and how that impacts your daily life. And we are super lucky to not just be doing that ourselves, but to be able to share this conversation with another writer couple we love, Leslie Lehr and John Truby. You guys say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
We are in Los Angeles, and I would love to be much closer to you, Denise and Joe. I know you're in North Carolina, and we hope to do that soon in real life. And
it's gonna get cold here today, so don't worry about it.
Okay. I am. I consider myself a novelist. I've written 7 or 8 books, although almost half of them are nonfiction. And this is my latest, A Boob's Life, which is actually a memoir, but a pop culture history of women and boobs and how it affected me and you. And it is in development at HBO Max with Salma Hayek as executive producer. Big meeting this week, I know. Very exciting. And I am working on another novel. And I am also novel consultant for Truby Writer Studio. I was actually a fangirl long before John Truby and I were married. We've only been married 11 years, but let me tell you, I was married before that, and it is not the same when it's so much better to be married to a writer who gets it when you're like an hour after you had planned to eat dinner and you're still trying to fix a sentence and you're calling across the house and saying, what's another word for, and also, you know, it's so exciting when you share this love of words and story. And of course, John's structure theories that now it doesn't count because we're married, but I was actually teaching his theories and using them for everything I sold, from essays to articles and books forever, and screenplays. Anyway, so that's me, and I'll take it away to John Truby.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here. Great to see Denise and Joe.
Oh, wait, and I have to say, Denise and I met at a public queen convention
Oh my
years ago. We are
I should have
longtime
mentioned
queens.
that.
Yeah, this
That's
is my
right.
3rd tiara. The others
That's
didn't
right.
last.
This is my 2nd tiara, but yes,
Okay.
Leslie and I met at live, which was so wonderful.
wonderful,
We
yeah.
in person.
Yes.
We met at Girlfriends Weekend in
On Hail the Queens.
2014.
I don't know. I've been there a few times. Like it's like I can only do it by the costumes when we were serving
Yes.
the book clubs. Anyway, all right. I'll
Was it
shut up.
2013 or 2014? I don't
All,
know.
Yeah, it was-
all I remember is that
It was
we had an
14. I was
Elvis-
post
we had an
chemo.
Elvis impersonator.
It was
Yeah.
Elvis.
We had an Elvis impersonator, and
Yes,
we
yes.
all decided that we were going to freak out like Elvis fans.
It was fun.
It
But
was-
let me let John introduce himself.
Wait,
John.
John should introduce
Yeah.
himself.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry that I've never experienced the Pulpwood Queens.
We
gala
were dating, I
experience.
think then, or just
Um,
married.
You'll
I-
have to. You'll have to, John.
Yes, I would love
Absolutely.
to, but I am a story person. I wrote this book, The Anatomy of Story,
Yes.
and I also do a lot of story consulting for movie studios and television companies and so on. And I am
And
probably my
and novelists
greatest
also.
my greatest achievement is to be married to Leslie Lehr.
Yeah, get it. I love that. I'm all about that. And it's one of the things, because it's not unusual to have a writer in the family. It can be unusual to have a writer as your partner. And one of the things that I think this lends naturally to is something that anyone, whether or not they are in a relationship with another writer, can relate to, even readers, is talking about the concept of trusted readers. I mean, I know some of the people watching, I know some of the people who are just readers. When you share any kind of creative work in your life, can be a very important time, a very vulnerable time, a very significant time in the arc of trying to finish a creative project, whether it's a book or a play or a painting or whatever it is you're doing. And so I feel quite fortunate that I have a trusted reader. Joe's not my only trusted reader, but to me, most of the time, encapsulates what I want from a
This is
trusted
killing
reader, which is someone who knows what they're talking about because they've worked in this world. They understand writing, they understand structure, they understand the creative process, but also who has my best interests at heart. And that, I think, is very important, because I talk to a lot of writers or other creatives who get in creative support groups, which I think are very, very important. But a lot of times they're getting feedback and information from people who may or may not have much experience, but more importantly, who may or may not want to raise someone else up, which I think is very, very important. I mean, Joe and I are very hard on each other
No.
when it comes, he's horrible to me. When it comes to like reading early work, the things he will write in the margins are like, yes, I get it. You've said this 29 times, stop already, or, he drew a little picture of Yoda once in the margin of one of my early manuscripts. I think it
Holding a
was Last
lightsaber.
Castle. It was Yoda holding a lightsaber, and it said, a sentence this is not, I mean, he does all of this stuff. But I know that it's because he cares for me. He knows what he's talking about, but he cares for me, and he wants me to put my best work out in the world. So I'd love to hear you guys, as another writer couple, kind of talk about the trusted reader aspect, because I think it's something that a lot of other folks who have creative support groups, can think about.
Well, for me, there's a couple things that come up right away, is that you can't have someone who's saying, oh, are you making a nickel an hour now with all this time you're spending? You have to have someone who does respect that time takes time and you want it to live forever. And you also got to respect that you have each other a different skill set. Like John and I, he's very analytical. I'm very much more story oriented and character. And even if I think you have a partner or someone in group who writes a different kind of thing, you have to respect that this story has value and not steer them into something that you might like better as a reader. And with John, it's like, it's so, I actually do, because I've done so much consulting teaching, I kind of forget it's John and I don't care so much about hurting his feelings. He has another project he's working on that was so many hundreds of pages. And I figured it was so much easier for me to just say, if I don't understand it, no one else is going to understand it because I probably understand it pretty well, you know, and also just to be really honest of, is there a better way to say it? And I think a lot of times we don't understand if a reader has a problem with somebody thing, it doesn't mean they know the solution. It just means here's a way to think about it. And when I'm insecure about something, like in the boob's life, I was doing some research and trying to do analysis as well as share my own experience. And I was trying to get it, and he was able to say it in a way that made it sound even smarter. And so that was a real gift. But so we get to trade off. He'll be looking at my stuff and say, yeah, and then I'll look at his stuff. And it's just this like mutual respect. We both want each other to have bestsellers, right? We want it to be as good as it can. And we respect that. So I don't know if you want to add to that.
Well, I would underline that by saying I am really good at fake smart. So I can make anything sound smarter. It isn't necessarily smarter, but it sounds smarter. And that's really important.
It's confidence building.
But I think it's a great question, Denise. And I believe that the first step in becoming a successful writer is to marry a good writer.
But not everyone has that opportunity.
Now, let me just say, if you can't do that, or you just can't bring yourself to do that, find a really good writer and then bring them a lot of pastries and cheese.
Yep.
Because then they will be indebted to you for life and they will have to read your work. But I'm joking, but I'm not joking in the sense that you cannot get your, whatever your work is, your story, to greatness without one person who knows the craft.
Yep.
And as you say, cares about you enough to be honest with you about what is not working. This is the great danger with giving your ongoing work to friends or other writers who maybe are not as knowledgeable in the craft as they need to be.
So there is value in getting feedback from readers, because you know, if it's a certain reader who reads that kind of book, they're going to say, oh, what about this? I really like this. And that does have a value. But it's like my mother, you know, she just wants a happy ending, no matter what it is.
Right. That's why the word, that's why I use the phrase trusted reader.
No offense, Mom, if you're watching, I love you and appreciate you.
Love you, Mom. Like one of my very best friends, as Leslie, you know, is Abbott Kaler, and we've known each other for many, many, many years. And she has also been a Girlfriends Weekend attendee. And Abbott and I are readers, early readers for each other. And again, it's people who understand story, understand craft, but who also want you to put your stuff out there. But one of the things that you mentioned, Leslie, and you to an extent, John, as well, was how genre and different genre, I mean, like between the four of us, I've done playwriting and I focus primarily on narrative nonfiction. Joe and I both started in journalism. Joe does a lot of ghostwriting, but he also he's a mystery writer. You know, you have done.
What's the name of that season? What's the name of the series, Joe, that you do?
Oh, this is one of them. This is the latest Murder on Book Row.
Yeah, that looks great.
I don't even know if that's
delicious. But you know, it's does that John? You've done. I mean, the anatomy of story. I mean, all the structure, which would be described as prescriptive. I know that's not all that you do.
He also he worked on Jump Street. He's done his own
work on Jump Street. You're a Hollywood script writing expert. You know, Leslie, you've done memoir, you've done fiction. And even your memoir is a combination of genres. And John, one of the things that I love that you have said before is that a really great story has various genres encased within it. And so I love the way writers can influence each other. If you write nonfiction, you don't have to hang out with other nonfiction writers. If you write fiction, you don't have to hang out with other fiction writers. Talk to a poet, talk to a screenwriter, talk to people who use other various forms of conveying story, because it's just all about story. I mean, John, I'd love for you to rip a little about that aspect of your work, how really great stories have, and I forget the example you used in your book. It might have been, go ahead.
I'm wondering if it wasn't Star Wars. Did you use that as an example in one of your works? Yeah.
Sure.
Godfather.
Well,
Star Wars.
you know,
Wait, I should just say, I am like a secret lurker of your newsletter. I have bought and read your book. I've also gifted it to our nephew.
Oh yeah.
Who's going to
Who's going to
Chapman
film school
now.
now,
He's
yeah.
like obsessed with film. And I have also bought some of your audio classes in the past. So that's how I'm aware of this. But I'm kind of curious to hear you talk about that, because the idea of like multiple genres is not something people
Existing in one
think about,
overall story, which I think is really fascinating and
Yeah, I
really
think
key to a good story.
And people always think, oh, he's just scripts, but no, the novel is like, it's a story is a story is a story.
Yeah.
well, the reason it's called, the book is called Anatomy of Story, is because the techniques of great storytelling apply in every medium, whether it's screenplay, novel, short story, plays, even video games,
And essays.
and essays.
My New York Times Modern
and
Love totally by the
creative
book.
nonfiction, absolutely. And the beats of a great story are all the same. Now, what genres do is they vary these beats in sometimes very bizarre ways. For example, one of the main structure steps is the opponent, the antagonist. Well, what a mystery story does is it takes the opponent, who in most stories we know who it is, hides it in the opening scene, and then we don't find out who it is until the very end. Well, that causes tremendous difficulty in terms of writing a great story in the mystery area, which is why I consider the mystery plot the most complicated plot of all genre plots.
And clearly Joe's cracked it.
So I have
He totally has.
great respect for mystery writers. But this point that you made is very, very important about combining genres. In modern storytelling, in whatever medium, one of the essential techniques for writing a book that sells is that it combine genres, that there be more than a single genre. Now, you want a primary genre. That's very important because that gives you the structural foundation of the story. But you want other genres mixed in as well.
Like love story.
And it's the old marketing idea of give them 2 or 3 for the price of 1. And readers now are so familiar with the individual genre that when you combine other genres in with the main genre, it gives them more plot. And plot is really what distinguishes the most successful writers from everybody else in popular story.
Yep. I found like when working on A Boob's Life, it was very hard to market because I had this mixed genre of memoir, which was my personal life. Thank you. And also all these facts between everything, as well as this nonfiction analysis, which is what Denise does best, so taking my life, comparing it to the culture, and it made it really hard to sell just because it was a unique mixing of genres in a nonfiction form. And yet once it did sell, it was hugely
exploded.
Yeah, because of the mix of genres, because it has something for everything. It's unique, it's extra, so it's a tricky thing. But in books, it's like, people read series to get one thing and they'll read them really fast. And when you get to, combining them, that's when people really slow down and it's a whole new ball game. So,
I agree. And one of the things,
like a puzzle.
It is a puzzle, which also feeds off of one of the things that John said, and something that I know the 4 of us all have in common, which is that no matter what we're writing, if it's an essay, if it's a journalistic article, if it's a nonfiction book, if it's a play, if it's a memoir, if it's fiction, if it's prescriptive, structure, 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 structure.
Right.
And I feel as though, and Leslie, you have once described yourself as a structure diva, which I loved and totally agree with. And I feel as though there's this idea that if you focus on structure, you are somehow giving short shrift to creativity and story. But I completely disagree with that, because for me, you can give two writers the exact same characters, the exact same plot points, the exact same settings, and they will both structure those stories differently. A structure to me is, hi, reader, I am taking you by the hand and I am guiding you through this story. And to me, having a solid structure allows me to be more creative. And for some reason, I think that is a tough thing for some people to latch onto. What do you think about structure?
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, in the short term, like you're writing a chapter, if you know what the beats are in that chapter, you can hit those beats, but now you are free to insert the richness that makes those characters come alive, the details that you need to, make the setting come alive and heighten the emotionality of that chapter. That's just how I would react to it. So like,
I was just saying, it's like, that the chapter has to end. And I feel like it's giving a kid a curfew. They
Right,
know,
yeah.
they gotta be home. They know they'll be safe at 11 if they get home. And in between, they can do what they want. It doesn't mean I didn't just cut 15 pages from my next novel that was carefully structured. It just meant I can still get there, but I don't need this, and I can do something else. So it's that security of knowing you're going to get where you need to go so you can play around.
Yeah, John?
I think structure is the key to creativity. It's this idea that if you structure that you're not creative is the exact opposite of the truth. And it's probably one of the most dangerous things a writer can believe when they're trying to write a great story. And the idea behind it is, if you impose a structure on the story from the outside, yes, that is not creative. That is going to hurt the story. But you have to understand what real structure is. Real structure is the evolution of the character through the plot. And so a really good structure will be totally unique to your main character. And that is what allows that character to really grow and really come into their own by the end of the story, which is what the reader is really reading.
Right.
For.
And if they're sold on that character,
yeah,
they will follow you to the end of the year.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's why you have to, if you think in terms of structure as the way of is the key to finding out how that character is going to change through the plot, then you can be, as you're writing it, at every step of the writing process, you can be incredibly creative because you have a foundation that you can build on and know that you're not going to make that character do something that they would not normally do or would not be right for that person.
That's right. And if it's, I mean, with the majority of what I do, which is nonfiction, I am gathering all of this information, archival information, interviews, books, whatever, photographs, historic photographs, about a particular individual I want to focus on in a book. But I still want to step back and look at how that individual moved through this story. What is that structure? Where do they go? Where do I hope they go? Do I create suspense because I don't know where they're going?
Well, also, Denise, you as the narrator, even if you're omniscient, you are the detective. So it's really your curiosity driving and structuring what's the next most exciting thing to expose, to reveal to the reader about the story that you're creating.
And curiosity for me, not just in writing, but just in life, curiosity is everything.
Absolutely.
Curiosity is an antidote to judgment. Curiosity is an antidote to boredom. Curiosity is an antidote to this phrase that's come up during COVID called languishing, which I relate to because at times I feel like I'm languishing during this pandemic. But curiosity to me is everything because it just keeps a question in your mind, and questions keep you reading, keep you looking, keep you searching. And that kind of curiosity, I think, really kind of feeds structure. And Leslie, you had mentioned the idea of knowing where a story is going to go. And to me, that is what frees you up. So if
it can change, it can change later, but at least it's like playing archery. You got to see the goal to hit it, and maybe you'll change your mind. But meanwhile,
that's right. It's GPS. This is the route I think I'm going to take. Oh, wait, I turned another way here. Rerouting. It's like it takes you in a different direction if you need to go there. And, this also lends itself to talk about, revision, which to me is, oh my God, and revision when it comes to trusted readers and people in your life that you rely on, because you can get so close to what you're working on, whether you're a musician writing lyrics, or you're a poet, or you're a painter, or you're a photographer, whatever, you can get so close to your subject or your story that you can't see it.
Right. I was just thinking of Robert Heinlein, the famous science fiction writer, did this thing once where he wrote like 5 rules, Robert Heinlein's 5 rules for writing. And one of them was, I don't know if it was like number 4 or number 5, it was like, never rewrite except to editorial demand. So in other words, if you send out your science fiction short story, you don't rewrite that story, you just write it once, you mail it out, and if your editor comes back to you and says, I'm buying the story for $35.
Back then, I want you to change this, then you rewrite the story. But, I will rewrite minimally now because I'm older. When I was younger, I rewrote a lot. I think I've learned a lot about just getting it right the first time. If I have a structure, structure again. If I have a route, if I can get from point A to point B in a certain way, that to me is like the skeleton. And then I'm going to put some skin on the skeleton, facts and scenes and all of that sort of stuff. Then I'm going to put some clothes on that body, which is going to be added richness, deeper, richer, fuller, better. And then maybe I'll put on some jewelry. And then I do a coat, what I call in a revision, I do the Coco Chanel. So Coco Chanel used to say, you get really dressed up,
take something
like such, and then you turn and look in the mirror, and the first thing that catches your eye, you take off. And to me, that's the same with, you have to pull a Coco Chanel when you're revising. It's like you want to add in all this stuff, but every once in a while, you got to look at your book in the mirror and go, yeah, I don't need those earrings. I mean, they're great, but I just really don't need them.
That's the 15 pages I cut. I had all this great texture in my novel. And it was like, yeah, it's stopping the story. I did all that research. I wanted to put it in.
Right. Yeah, sure.
You get attached to the research. You get attached to the work. And that's the same with whether you're writing a prescriptive book, a how-to book, a mystery, nonfiction book, an academic book. You get very attached to the work that you've done, but it's the story that has to carry you through. And do you have anything you want to add to that? I know I look to other genres.
So for the next hour, I would like to speak. No, just kidding. No, I feel as though, in the fiction world, you see writers who declare themselves as pantsers and plotters.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other people describe pantsers means I'm writing by the seat of my pants. Plotters means I've created an outline. I'm more in the plotting camp because it's just saved me time over the years. And other people describe it as a pantser will describe themselves as a discovery writer. And I have to say that I see the value of sitting down sometimes and saying like, what does my subconscious come up with if I just sit down and write? But you could write for 4 hours and it would be just utter crap.
See, but I feel that like I would love to know what you two think, but I feel as though having a structure from the get-go allows me to do that.
Right, that's true. But you're not going to like sit down and write the chapter of a mystery novel and think that you're going to hit all the beats that you need to do if you're just discovery writing without, a map.
No, I feel
in
like
front of you.
the map still allows me to be freer. I don't know. Leslie, John, what do you guys think?
I'm a huge reviser. I find the more books I write, the more I revise because
Yeah.
they can work different ways. And maybe also I write far more complex stories now. But
Mhm.
I'm on, I call it the fifth draft of this novel, but it's every day I'm constantly revising just to make it better. And I feel like every story has a different code to crack. But I feel like I definitely mapped out the whole story. I had colored note cards, the whole bit. It's still the same structure, but I'm finding, I maybe don't need that. But I find out the more closely I adhere at least to the pattern, because I know where it ends,
Mhm.
then I dream about it more. And then I wake up with new ideas that solve problems that I had spent 4 hours thinking, how can I don't know. And then I wake up and go, oh, wait, I can do this. Problem solved, move on, So I do feel like that for me, the outline, and I always go back to it, to make sure. And it doesn't, and even the ending, like in this draft, I completely changed the opening of the book, but it was something I had buried somewhere else. And it just allows me to know, I can still get there, but I can do it.
I feel like there's a freedom to that. John, you do so much analysis of something that I think is particularly difficult, which is the screenplay. To keep things moving along, but they also need to be rich and they need to be layered. How do you talk about like the combination of, free writing within a structure?
Well, rewriting, I find, is one of the biggest problems writers have because they don't realize that it is a skill, just as plot is a set of skills, character, and so on. It's a skill in terms of how you do it. The biggest mistake that fiction writers make in rewrite is they begin by fixing dialogue. And that's the last thing that you want to fix, because when you go into it and you realize you have to fix some structural problems, you're going to end up cutting certain scenes. And so you don't need to fix that dialogue in the first place.
Yep.
But the real trick to rewriting is you started off with the structure when you wrote the book. Now you've got to go back and you've got to re-examine that structure and see, does it work and where does it not work? And specifically, you want to start with the looking at the character arc, make sure that works. And then the next thing you have to do is you got to go to the desire line of the hero of the story, because that is the spine of the book. And if that is not strong, and if that is not urgent throughout the story, and if you don't have a clear endpoint to that goal by the end of the story, then that book is going to fall apart. Right. And you have to be able, in the rewriting process, find where that's happening. Once again, that goes to what we started the conversation with, of having that other person who is a good writer, who especially knows structure, who can look with X-ray vision into what you've written and say, here's the structure you were trying to do. It's not working here, here, and here. And I recommend you try moving these things around. Then once you get that structure reoriented and get it so it's really working, then you can go on and fix the clothing, as you put it.
The clothing, the jewelry, the
frosting.
That's right.
That's the fun part.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
It is the fun part. I think revising is incredibly fun. Now, as we get close to, I think we've got about 5 or so more minutes, I would love, and I think other people appreciate, we all have a long experience working at home, which a lot of people are just starting to have to deal with. But we have a lot of experience working at home. I've worked at home for decades. And I know I have particular sort of hacks I use that were pre-COVID, just because I've always done this, about working at home and keeping my life arranged. One of them for me that I think has always been very important is knowing what the most important thing of your day is and writing about that the night before you go to sleep so that you wake up in the morning and you know exactly what you're doing the next day and you know where you're going to do it. So for me, if I am deep in a book, like I am now, I'm writing my next book, I know I need to get up, I need to meditate because that's something I do. I need to get up, do my meditation, and then I need to write. And my phone is off, my web is off, notifications are off. And then I structure the rest of my day, and I also structure it according to where I'm going to be in the house, because I learned a long time ago, many years ago, that keeping work everywhere in your house is not
I get that.
a good thing. There has to be a zone where the work lives. Otherwise, you can't detach, you can't get a refreshing mental break, which everyone needs, no matter what kind of work you're doing at home. You need that distance, you need that perspective. So where you do your work has to be a specific place, because otherwise you spend your entire day and evening, because you're at home, seeing your work all over your house, which does not allow your brain to say, hey, I need to go explore other things, which also improves your work. That's what do you guys?
Ask them.
Yeah.
Well, what do you do, Joe?
I leave crap all over the
attention.
house, and then she tells me to put that back in the office, and I do. But I'm coming around to what she's saying, that you don't want to see work.
But you're one of
everywhere.
those people who, like Joe, it actually makes me sick. He could sit in a chair for like 10 hours straight and just not be distracted. And that's not me.
It's not 10 hours. It's more like 4. Sit in the chair for 4 hours. 10 hours is too much. But let's go to you guys, because I think I want
I think Kathy had a
Yeah,
question.
we've got 5 minutes and I want to
Yeah.
bring our readers into
Oh,
the
yeah,
Yes,
that's
oh my
right.
God, yes, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. Yes, do
So
it.
I'm just trying to get, any of you guys have any questions in this last 5 minutes of what they've been talking about, the writing, the structure, their books? I mean, we've got readers here. So does
Yeah.
anybody want to speak up?
All I can say is I applaud you all.
Hey,
Thank you.
can't even imagine. Yeah. Anybody
So
else?
I would like to ask a question. My
Okay,
name
who
is
is this?
Susan,
Susan Wingate.
Hi.
I've got
Okay,
my-
Susan.
Hi,
I remember you from
everybody.
the last time we saw each other.
when was that?
Weren't you like a week ago? Did we not see your
Oh.
living room a week ago?
Oh, that. It's been a while. It's been a week and every day, you know what I mean? It's a lot of work. Anyway, John, I want to say that I have your book and I love it. And I'm in also an MFA program, and we're studying the arc of the narrative arc of film.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about right now is structure, and Aristotle, and how he feels or felt that structure was the most important thing in storytelling. And then of course we're bouncing between he and McKee, but I don't want to go into that because that's a whole different subject. But I love that you explained it so much better than Aristotle. I love that you explained the characters.
Yes, he did.
So I just really
He
want
was
to
a
say
philosophy
thank you. I'm
major.
taking that to the
Yeah.
say that again.
He was a philosophy major in college.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, there you go. Thank you very much. I love
Well,
your book.
Thank you for your very kind words. I am a huge fan of Aristotle. And one of the things I try to do in the book is to, stand on his shoulders and try to provide a little more specific techniques make it a little bit more practical as opposed to philosophical. So I'm glad that you picked up on that.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
and can I say one more thing? If anybody is going to read John's book, and I highly recommend it, be prepared to be bouncing out constantly to try and do what he's telling you to do. It's just amazing. So anyway, thank
That's
you very much.
that's exactly how I want writers to read the book, to immediately, and with each
That's a great way
chapter,
to put it. That's a
apply
great
it,
way to put
apply it to what you're working on, and
Yes.
so that you build the story from the ground up. And so I'm so glad that you did that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody
Any
else?
other, one last question? Yes, Deborah. Deborah, can't hear you. You're on mute.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi. John, were you writing 21 Jump Street in 1988?
That's right.
I did an episode right after the writer's strike up in Vancouver, and I looked it up. It was I looked on IMDb. It was called Grace. Did you write that?
I did not write Grace. I think I
Oh.
know who did, but it's you're taking me back so many years. But
I had to
I
look
was
it up.
watching. I was watching.
I know.
Right,
I
we're probably on the
was there.
set.
Probably like revealing too much about our ages, but yeah.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, hello.
Hey, Deborah,
Hi.
huge fan.
All right. Guys, our time is up. It went too fast, but we're taking a 15-minute break, and then we're coming back to announce the 2022 Book of the Month. And I want to tell everybody that's listening that Sunday night at our award show, we're going to be recognizing every author of 2021. So please be there. It's our version of the Academy Awards night. So you can dress up from here up. And it's it's something you don't have to wear the mask to if you were in person. Tonight is the masquerade ball. Don't forget, all authors are encouraged to enter and wear a mask for the big reveal. Author Gregory Phillips is going to be helping me with that. So look at your program, see what's ahead, but we're going to take a short break and we'll be back in a few. Thank you so much to all
Thank
of
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Good. Look at the comments. They're amazing. So we'll
Great.
see you back on the hour. So thank you. And we'll
Thank
see
you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.